by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this, your Sunday Sunset Safari. That's called triple alliteration, and it came out entirely by mistake. You're on a live safari here in the northeast corner of magnificent South Africa, the iconic Kruger National Park, part of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, 8.5 million acres of untrammeled wildlife wonderland. Now, my name is James Henry. On camera today is Dave. Hello, David. David is very camouflaged today. He's unlikely to be seen by any animals today. I am semi-camouflaged. And on the other vehicle we have Byron Sorrell, who looks like a buffalo and indeed is as big as a buffalo, and Brian Joubert, who is a bit like a giraffe, really. Giraffe and the buffalo together. Now, we are traditionally supposed to start the show with an animal, a live animal, but because we are live, and live we are, hashtag SafariLIVE if you want to talk to us, or questions at wildearth.tv. Well, we couldn't start with an animal because we couldn't find one. So what we've started with is what is known as the woolly caperbush. It is unusual only for the fact that there are not many of them here. In other places they are quite common, but it is quite a woolly sort of a thing, and it's been consumed by a number of caterpillars. You might be able to see there. You might also be able to see the hairs shining on the bottom of it, and that's why it's called a woolly caperbush. But often it doesn't grow on its own like this. Quite often it grows on a termite mound and underneath other trees, and it produces these amazing sort of, I'm still sure many of you have seen Tarzan. It produces these huge vines that swing from the trees in very well-watered areas. And that's the woolly caperbush, Capparis tomentosa. Right, our plan this afternoon, everyone, is to head off towards Cheetah Plains and see if we can't replicate Byron's very good efforts yesterday of elephants and cheetah. Maybe we'll be lucky with a leopard, maybe we'll be lucky with an impala and a steenbok, who knows. But before we do that, I'm just going to drive along here because we did some testing today of our new fixed-wing drone, and I lost a tool on the way, so we're just going to drive that route and then head towards Cheetah Plains. It's good to have you on board. It's a wonderful, balmy winter's afternoon, 24 degrees Celsius, which I think puts us at roughly 75 degrees Fahrenheit, if I'm not mistaken. I still, despite having been converting these things for over a year, am unable to sort out in my mind exactly what the conversions are. Oh well. We weren't all born with enormous brains, were we, David? No, we were not. Right, let's go across to Byron and find out what his plans for the afternoon are.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Byron, and with me on camera this afternoon we have Brian and the Thumb, who is very well dressed for this afternoon's drive. Brian and I are currently in a very thick block. We had some leopard tracks around. We were trying to find Karula perhaps, and maybe if we're lucky some of her cubs. We're in a thick block. We did have some tracks earlier and they headed into this area, so we're just driving through and scanning very carefully, but it is becoming quite thick now. But you never know. We're trying to check these trees and really scan around this area quite carefully. Nothing yet. It's always tricky when you drive through these thicker areas, trying to get out. James had a very successful morning with lions. He got to show you those beautiful cubs with the lionesses and the other 3 lionesses on Arethusa. We're going to search this area for a while. If we don't have any luck, we may head across to Arethusa this afternoon and hopefully get those lionesses a bit more active. It is such a beautiful day. The temperature's warmed up wonderfully, and compared to this morning we were very cold in the vehicle, but it has warmed up. And I'm sure we've had a lot of activity from the animals during the day. It's now just a case of finding them. There we go, putting my driving skills to test. Don't forget to send us your questions on Twitter at #SafariLive, and then otherwise email us questions@wildearth.tv. And myself and James will get through hopefully all your questions this afternoon. Hope you are all having a wonderful Sunday, relaxing Sunday wherever you are around the world. No luck just yet. Let's check this road over here if we have any tracks. See, it's not always easy to find these animals. You really do have to work very hard. Just going to turn around here again. Find any little sign, any track that they have been around. And also, the case is the animals do move around a lot, and especially on cool winter's days. Like today, this morning was cool right up till about 11 o'clock. So the animals and predators who generally don't move much in the heat of the day would have moved around a lot more while it was a lot cooler this morning. The reason these animals like to, especially the predators, prefer conserving the energy during the heat of the day is because it's very hot. It's energy sapping. So they prefer to move around when it is much cooler. And also, generally, they do move around under the cover of darkness, especially lions and leopards. They ambush predators, so they'll use the darkness to be able to stalk and hunt their prey. Let's jump out of here quickly. Watch out. There we go, we're out the thick stuff. Going to stay in this area for a little bit. Just want to make sure we don't miss any tracks. Going to check very carefully while we're driving along here. In and out of this area, and I think this is where they had Karula, or the update that potentially Karula would have crossed north into Vuyatela or into Juma a day or two ago. Then again, you never know with leopards. Then again, you never know.
Sorry about this, everybody. Perhaps something has pushed over the Gowrie repeater, just like the elephants have pushed over this marula tree. Our technical team is rushing around, madly trying to fix it, and we'll be back with you as soon as we can. Sorry about this, everybody. Perhaps something has pushed over the Gowrie repeater, just like the elephants have pushed over this marula tree. Our technical team is rushing around madly trying to fix it, and we'll be back with you as soon as we can. Sorry about this, everybody. Perhaps something has pushed over the Gowrie repeater, just like the elephants have pushed over this marula tree. Our technical team is rushing around madly trying to fix it, and we'll be back with you as soon as we can.
Sorry everybody, we seem to have a few gremlins affecting our signal, but that is what happens when you're live on safari in the African bush. You know, we really are in the middle of nowhere, so we can often lose you. Just trying to work around this area very carefully and have a look and see if we have any signs of a leopard. Nothing just yet. As I mentioned earlier, the temperature's warmed up quite a lot today. It's a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. Often you get leopard moving down into drainage lines, into thickets, where they will rest in the cool sand or in the shade of the big trees around here, and potentially then start moving around a little bit later as it cools down, right into the evening, and then move around at night. But I don't see any tracks anywhere. James did check around this area this morning, but he didn't have any luck either. So I think we'll just continue around here a little further, and we'll check the brake very carefully, make sure we don't have any tracks coming across. As I said, I hope you're having a wonderful, relaxing Sunday wherever you are in the world. I know we've got some people from Johannesburg. Big hello to Ian, Claire and Gail. Hope they're enjoying this afternoon's show with us. Don't forget to send us your questions. Hopefully I or James will be able to answer them for you. It's nice soft sand along this road, so it would be easier to see fresh tracks of anything crossing in and out of this area. We've got some elephant tracks already from earlier today. No sign of anything else. We haven't really seen much yet this afternoon, but it goes like that at times. As I always say, it's too soon to panic. You never know what we're going to bump into along the way. Some hyena tracks. Hyena constantly move around, especially in this area. There seems to be a They will be looking for potential food that they could scavenge or steal from another predator like a leopard or lion in this area. The hyenas do hunt for themselves, but you can
Sorry about this, everybody. Perhaps something has pushed over the Gowrie repeater, just like the elephants have pushed over this marula tree. Our technical team is rushing around madly trying to fix it, and we'll be back with you as soon as we can.
Again, these gremlins affecting our signal, but I think we're good now. It should be 100%. We are in the area where those lions with the little cubs were this morning. I've seen their tracks. This is where they crossed, and they crossed south into the neighboring property. That's where James was with you this morning. I was hoping we'd see them crossing back, but I don't see any tracks coming back. It's amazing to see so many little cubs around with those females. Really wonderful, wonderful sighting. It was definitely a baby morning this morning. We had a lot of youngsters. James had the cubs. I had that very, very young Inyala that we found, the baby Inyala, the newborn, in fact. It was definitely born this morning early sometime, and the mother was still busy cleaning it, and it was incredible to see. Very, very special sighting. Sean in South Africa has asked us a question. He has asked us, do we know what is the only flying animal? I'm not too sure if I understand that question correctly. Only flying animal. I wonder if you mean mammal. Only flying mammal. I think the only flying mammal... Good question. This is tricky. There is a squirrel, which there's a tree squirrel which has a flap underneath its front and hind legs, and what it does is it leaps from one tree to another, and it opens its legs and front legs and back legs, and that flap opens up and causes wind to move underneath it, and that allows it to glide from tree to tree. I think that is the only one that off the top of my head. If anyone else can think of something, please let me know. I hope that's what you're asking for, Sean. I'm just scanning very carefully as we're driving around or along this road, and driving very slowly, making sure I don't miss any tracks. It's really warm now, so not even the birds are chirping too much. Don't see too much bird activity. Usually early in the mornings and late in the afternoons might get a bit more bird activity, especially just before dusk. The birds all give their final call for the day before they settle down and sleep and rest for the evening. While I'm checking this road for any tracks or any sign of animals, James has a hippo. Go ahead and join him for a while.
Does that mean we're live? Oh, well.
The gremlins are really having a go at us today. They're not letting the signal flow smoothly. So you were about to see James with the hippo, but you're back with me. You're still checking the road for any sign of animals walking through across. I've seen a lot of elephant tracks crossing back and forwards over this road. No big cats just yet. I really would like to see Karula. I've never seen that leopard before, especially with cubs. It's something that is so special to be able to witness. I'd love to find her, but you never know. If we don't get lucky today, maybe in the next few days we do. I think what we're going to start doing is moving across to Arathusa, see if we can't find those lionesses that were at the waterhole. Hopefully they're still around there. It was a warm afternoon, so I think they possibly would have stayed in that area. found a bit of shade, stayed close to the water, and rested until later this afternoon. They might get up and move. So what we'll do is we'll start moving across to that side. Still just constantly scanning, having a look around for any sign of wildlife. Our morning started like this. It was a little slow at first, but it's just so nice to be out here. You never know what you're going to bump into, and even just driving without seeing wildlife, you still have the beautiful trees and the smells and the sounds of the bush. You know, the odd bird calling here and there. If I hear one close enough, I'll point it out to you. A lot of different sounds and bird calls that we can hear. James Richard has asked us a question about the population of steenbok and duiker in the area. And just give me a second, James Richard, if you don't mind. I've seen some tracks here. It looks like a leopard track from this morning, however. I see there have been vehicle tracks driving over it, but they've crossed south across our boundary into that area. Just always worth having a good look. So, James Richard, getting back to your question about the steenbok and the duiker, I'm not too sure. It's very difficult to say. You know, from what I've seen, there are a lot more steenbok than there are duiker. But I think it's very difficult unless you do a proper census in this greater Kruger area and have a look. I think it would be difficult to say which there's more of. And so, yeah, but from what I've seen, there's definitely more steenbok, it looks like it. This it's not quite, it's not arid at all, but it is very dry at the moment. And the steenbok don't mind dry conditions. They drink very, very little water. They don't have to drink every day. Hyena tracks, and but the duiker would need water a lot more regularly than the steenbok do. So steenbok thrive or would do a lot better in dry conditions like this as opposed to the duiker. So I think that's possibly why I would say that the steenbok population is a lot higher than the duiker population. I think James is still having a bit of issues with his signal. Perhaps he's decided to take the afternoon off and he's turned off the cameras. And him and David are relaxing near a waterhole and doing some birding. Very dry here at the moment. Even I'm getting a bit parched while we drive. Not too much moving around in this heat at the moment, which is not unusual. It does happen, but that's why we'll start making our way towards waterholes, checking around there and see if we don't have activity. You know, animals, some people think animals will go and drink at specific times of the day. That's not true. The animals will drink any time of the day. Whenever they're thirsty, they'll go down and drink some water. While we continue towards a waterhole, let's try getting an update from James one more time hopefully you are lucky.
We had a wonderful time at Buffelshoek Dam, everybody. Sorry about the gremlonies that seem to be messing with the Gowrie repeater. Connor's gone there to go and beat the stuffing out of them, and then we should be A for away. At the, I will tell you what we saw at Buffelshoek Dam. We saw a hippopotamus. He looked not displeased to see us. Then we saw 2 waterbuck bulls, the only waterbuck I've actually seen at the water since I've arrived at Djuma. Then we saw a warthog, and he went running off, scuttling away, and then there were a whole lot of nyala coming down. So it's a real pity you couldn't have joined us there. We also had blacksmith lapwings, we had a 3-banded plover, we had 2 recalcitrant Egyptian geese. So all in all, a very good time was had by 2 of us at Buffelshoek Dam. Very nice Sunday afternoon, and I mean, I deeply, you could hear I'm speechless at the suggestion from Byron that I would switch the car off and just go birding on my own. I mean, I'm scandalized to the point of being hurt. I shall have a word with him when I get home through the medium of a half brick. Now, we were talking about favourite trees this morning. Well, in actual fact, Byron was talking about favourite trees. And I don't know what his trees are, and as of this afternoon, I don't care what his favourite trees were. But I thought I'd talk about some of mine, as the ability of my good self to find animals has continued to be dire. Favourite trees, and I'm sure many of you have got favourite trees. Very few of them actually occur here. One of them, the brown ivory we get here. I am also a huge fan of the Natal mahogany. It's a beautiful tree that grows sort of deeper in towards the more permanent river. There's an elephant. Stand by, everybody. Marula trees, obviously magnificent things. Then, I know this is going to scandalise people, but there's something about a standard, bog standard issue oak tree that I really, really find deeply comforting. And there are, of course, the beautiful fig trees, huge fig trees that we get, and possibly my very favourite, the nyala berry. A nyala berry tree, stunning tree, and I had a relationship with one on the 13th fairway at the Palabor Golf Club, and I say relationship because no matter how often I played the hole, every time I teed off, my ball would sail straight and true into the middle of the nyala berry tree, and I'd never see it again. And they seem to be going off into Torchwood, these elephants, which is very unkind of them. We will approach with relative speed, but not enough to startle them with any luck. Don't go. There's a whole lot of them in there, just disappearing off into Torchwood. Oh, it's a nice big herd, full of big elephants. Oh, there's some more this side. I think we're in for a bit of a treat here. Let me stop in the shade here. You can see them all grazing across the clearing there, and there are a couple more in front of us, and they're obviously all heading that way, or the little one was just sleeping in the shade. Very sweet. So peaceful when they want to be, and so deeply unpeaceful when they want to be, but these ones seem to be in a relative state of peace. Feeding, and you can see the ground on which they're feeding, of course, is almost denuded of vegetation. They're picking up the last scraps, they're picking up the odd forb, and a forb, of course, is a sort of unidentified herbaceous plant, like a flower, really. But they still maintain a little bit of moisture in them, and that's why the elephants will be trying to pick out those. And they won't be taking anything. I mean, they are highly selective about what they eat. Isn't that a lovely sort of scene of the deep blue winter sky, the last bits of green and those great grey giants gently walking off in an easterly direction, away from the soon-to-be setting sun. Now, David, here come a few more across the road. Looks like a big bull at the back there. That's quite interesting. Big bull lurking with the herd. He'll be probably, or if he's not in must, he'll be coming into must, and he'll be seeking out an estrus female. Now, look at the difference between them now. The big bull behind, the cow there. Look how flat her back is in comparison with him, how her belly is less rounded, her forehead much more square. And they will tell you also that a female's tusks grow down more than they grow forward, and in this case it's completely rubbish. You can see those tusks are growing forward, but they are definitely thinner at the base than a bull's will be. Also, I mean, massive size, but when you come across one of those fellows, I mean, he's a good third again, 30% larger than the cows. He's a magnificent chap. Not the biggest ivory in the world. But look how graceful that 6-ton animal is. All right, let's go a little bit forward. We might be lucky to get another view. I don't think of him, but we've certainly still got a very nice view of the ones off to the left-hand side of us. I'll just turn a little bit. See how there's no grass on this ground at all. None whatsoever. And that is going to make for tough times for the grazers. I'm just quickly going to give an update to Lex. Lex, also 2 wild earth stations mobile. One went Buffelshoek Dam via Gowrie Cutline, and now currently with a breeding herd of elephants mobile east into Torchwood, about 200 metres to the north of the junction with Gowrie Main, and Byron's headed down south towards Treehouse Dam. So that's just an update, and for those of you who are perhaps new viewers, we are in constant radio contact with all of the game drives around this area. And oh, he didn't get that message. I will have to give it to him again, but we don't need to do it right now. And so there's a whole network of people driving around. Some can cross the borders that we can't cross, some can't. And so we are in a sort of a network of tracking communication, if you like. So if somebody sees something that we see or that we want to see, we can go there, and sometimes the other way around. So it's really important that we keep in good contact with everyone around here and maintain friendships. Otherwise, people will hide things from us. I'm just going to give them that message again. Lex, are you copying me now? Lex, 2 stations, Wild Earth Mobile. One went towards Treehouse Dam. The other went Gowrie Cutline, Buffelshoek Cutline to Buffelshoek Dam. Currently on Cheetah Cutline with the breeding herd of elephants mobile east into Torchwood, 200 metres north from the junction with Gowrie Main. And that one there, just if you can go to the right there, if you don't mind. There we go. Right, there we go. Now, eating a Combretum, Combretum calinum bush, a variable bush willow. Now, elephants do like those, and you can see that from the fact that, well, the elephant's eating it, of course, but you can also see that from the fact that it has been broken so many times. And if you watch carefully, that elephant is not eating the leaves. He's kind of stripping the leaves off. He's eating 1 or 2, but he's mostly going for the bark. There, he's eating some actual leaves there. Lucia, nice one from you. Welcome. I'm not sure if I've spoken to you before, and if I haven't, well, it's good to meet you, Lucia. How do you do? You want to know if when a bull's ready to mate, does he separate the female, or the object of his affection, from the rest of the herd? Sort of. What will happen is she will go into estrus, and then she will seek out a very large bull, well, when he's around the herd. She won't leave the herd to be with him. Then they'll move away slightly, but they don't go and find sort of privacy. He cannot mate with her unless she wants to mate with him, simply because of the mechanics of how it works. So she has to stand there, she has to almost back into him in order for them to copulate successfully, not to put too fine a point on it. And they will do that only when she's ready, and it'll be slightly away from the herd. And so I don't think he'll try and separate her from the herd, no, but he'll certainly chase her around a bit. And sometimes, just before she's actually ready to mate, you know, he'll harass the females, and they get very upset, and you can they really do create enormous consternation within the herds, these great big bulls. But the best part of their sort of breeding cycle, I suppose, is when they give birth. And an elephant giving birth is a great celebration for the rest of the herd, and quite unlike many other herding animals where the new mother must sort of separate herself, and she becomes extremely vulnerable, giving birth in some thick bush somewhere, hoping that a predator doesn't come along while her baby is being born, or while it's sort of in its first half an hour before it can stand up and run around. The elephants will surround the cow that is giving birth. They'll make a huge trumpeting noise of celebration. They'll all help to pick the little one up when it is finally born, and it's this huge sort of almost human, if you like, celebration when the little baby elephant is born. Wonderful to witness. I've never seen a full birth before, but I've got there just afterwards. James Dungan, a very good question, which we will answer with an experiment. We will feed David two examples. You want to know if a green leaf basically tastes the same as a golden leaf. So do the leaves change in taste? Absolutely they do. And I think the major thing is that the tannin levels will drop completely, but so will the moisture content. And when the moisture content goes, so will the carbohydrates go. So a lot more just structural stuff in the dry leaves. But let's have a taste of the difference. I'm sure we'll be able to get it. These elephants are heading off into Torchwood. I'm not going to get out and pick some leaves right here, lest I be attacked. No, hang on, I can actually do it just right over here. I'll hide from them using the car. David, if they come rushing out of Torchwood, you will tell me, won't you? We'll get three examples. One a sort of gold one, one a brown one. Well, we'll get two, Dave. We'll have one each. And two greenies. Now, this is the same tree. Yeah, it looks like a variable bush willow. So it's the same kind of tree. Right, now, David, here is your treat for the day. Say thank you. Delicious. Right, let's go with the greenie first. Full of tannin, but there is some moisture. You can taste nutrients, I suppose. Not nice.
What's next, James?
Next, let's go with the Golden Delicious. That was Granny Smith. Now, almost entirely tasteless, wouldn't you say?
I would say.
Totally tasteless. So all of those substances have gone, but while the tannins, which are not great for the animals to eat, have disappeared, so have all the nutrients. Now, the very dry one. You know, like straw, like dusty straw. Not much to recommend any of them. So there we go, James. A profound difference in taste between the Granny Smith, the Golden Delicious, and the Withered and Dead. Let's go and find out what Byron's doing, see if he's managed to find an animal or if he's still talking nonsense and casting aspersions on my character.
So James, I have not yet found an animal. Actually, I have. There's an impala. And there it moves. Hang on, they're just around the corner. Three impala. There we go. Three male impala. So I have found an animal, James. We are in the area where there were 3 lionesses this morning. Oh. It's amazing to watch how those impala can jump. They cleared a whole drainage line with one leap, very, very easily. So we are in this area where the lionesses were this morning, 3 lionesses. I've seen signs of their tracks, or I've seen their tracks heading west, away from the waterhole. They are not lying there anymore. I was hoping they would have been lying down, but they have moved. I don't think they would have gone too far. So let's just have a look around here. Let's keep our eyes open. Moving in through a drainage line, so it's nice and cool. I'm hoping they've decided to lie down somewhere in here. So he's scanning very carefully while we drive. I will be very, very excited if we find these lionesses. Trying to look for tracks while we're driving too. It's not always easy. There's a lot of impala around here. So that's a good sign. It means that it's unlikely that there are lionesses lying very close by, so we can drive a little bit further and check further down this area. Come on, I can't let James have all the limelight of finding animals this afternoon. I need to find you something. It's my favorite, driving through these dry riverbeds, these trees up around us. When it's so hot, it's lovely to drive and just spend some time in these riverbeds, these dry riverbeds. Now it's got a few trees here. We just have to be careful.
Gone the whole way there. Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. There was another elephant that we saw. Unfortunately, he is in very thick bush, so we're going to carry on here, mainly because I see a vehicle in front of us and it seems to be stopped. Now, we are not allowed to go either north or south of this road because we're on the way to Cheetah Plains now. But maybe there is something exceptional on the road, like leopards. Or maybe they were looking at some impala. That's also possible. This is Peter from Nkoro. Good afternoon. How are you? Good, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Can't complain.
No, good. Doesn't help, no one cares.
Yes.
Anything on the CP from this morning that you heard about?
I wasn't out on drive this morning,
Okay.
so I know Mike's been driving around there. But nothing else, eh?
Cool.
We're trying to find those skunk apparently from yesterday.
All right, cool.
No horns are coming from
Okay.
our side.
Cool. Alrighty.
Okay.
Enjoy your drive.
Enjoy.
Bye-bye, guys. Enjoy.
Bye.
So that's Peter from Nkoro, which is just to the north of Cheetah Plains. I seem to be finishing every sentence like that. There is a starling, David, a bird on a wire. Which I think is a film, isn't it? There we are. beautiful always to see a starling in the sunlight because they are so very pretty. That looks like a... Oh, that's interesting. Looked. It is a Birchall starling. You can see it with no black. No, it's not. It's got an orange eye. There we go. The bird on the wire has flown off. Cape glossy starling, it went as it went away. Just trying to listen to, apparently Tundi was seen sometime this morning. Mike, what was the last position of Tundi this morning? Just down here. Okay, so she was apparently, remember when we saw her, I don't know if you remember, we saw her, copy, thanks, we saw her on a termite mound here, or she was in a big tambuti tree, just lying there when we drove past here the other day. And now, apparently, she was on the termite mound underneath that, but she did then head north. Now, we all guessed, given the size of her fat belly that day, that she was about to give birth. And Jamie saw her in the same tree 2 days later. Now they've seen her on this termite mound again, and I wonder if Tundi, Karula's other daughter, has not given birth somewhere around here. What I'm going to do, because I think we might lose signal as we go through here. Dave, you see the big termite mound in front of us there? So you've got the telegraph pole and the termite mound down straight through the other side there. If you super zoom in on the top of that, yeah, you're in the right place there. Let's just have a look-see, because we can't actually go off-road around here, because it is not our place. No, that isn't a leopard, this is a tree, a bush. Okay, let's roll down the hill. Byron has got signal and picture, so let's go back to him. If we find something, I'll try and get into a position where we can look at it down in this gap here. See you shortly. Tally-ho, David.
Thank you again, James. I seem to have lost some signal there, and I've had no luck finding any sign of these lionesses. But I'm not giving up just yet. We are going to search this area very carefully and see if we can't find them. And I know when you saw them this morning, they were lying down and you thought, well, that's it, they're going to stay here for today. Just shows you can never, ever predict what animals are going to do. If they feel like getting up and moving, they will. Let's see, it is quite thick in this area. I got off the vehicle for a short while you were with James, just trying to see if I can't find any tracks, but alas, no luck. Good afternoon, Monique from London, welcome. Monique, yes, we are looking for those 3 Nkuhuma females that James found this morning around a dam, a waterhole on Arathusa. So I'm trying to see if I can relocate them and find them, but they've moved off. And I cannot seem to find an exact direction. There's a lot of vehicle activity there, so a lot of tracks have been driven over. I'm trying to see if I can't find any signs of which direction they would have moved. This is the exciting part, the searching, the unknown, not knowing where these animals are and trying to find them. Very, very exciting. The other thing is they could have moved into a thick block, just lay down and rested for the day. But you never know. check these. These junctions in a road are a very good place to look for any potential tracks of animals, because as we saw a few nights ago, was it last night, the night before, we saw a lioness and we followed her and we saw how they use the roads, and it's just a nice pathway for a lot of the animals. It's easier to walk across. So let me just see something here quickly. No. It's easier for them to walk through the bush. It's the path of least resistance. There's not a lot of trees, and it's just a great way to get around. Often in the soft sand, if you're lucky, you get a glimpse of a track. It's not to say they're not going to walk off the road at any time. No sign. So Finn, aged 8, has asked us, do apples grow where we are? No, Finn, we don't have apples that you are used to growing out in the wild, the normal apples. We've got a lot of other fruit though, and one of the very well-known fruit is the marula fruit. None are growing at the moment. It is winter, so it's unlikely to find any fruit, but in summer a lot of trees bear different fruits. Another one is a sour plum. Very, very, very sour fruit, and I've tried it a few times with guests, and it's so funny the faces you pull when you try the sour plum. But no apples. I think the elephant are a little bit unhappy about that, don't you think so, Finn? Well, I'm not giving up this afternoon until I find these lionesses. Good things come to those with persistence, I think. What do you think, Brian? I think so. Times like these, I wish I had a good friend of mine, a guy by the name of Judas. Him and I worked together for a long time. He was the tracker that I used to work with, and he just had a sixth sense while being in the bush. He could track and understand the movement of animals very, very well. And someone like that with you while you're driving, and he would be sitting on the front of the vehicle having a look for any little sign, and he could see half a track. And very, very easily. It was incredible, and I learned so much from him. I'm sure if Judas was with us now, we'd have a little bit more luck finding these lions. So James is heading off to Cheetah Plains this afternoon. We had a lot of luck yesterday. We had those two beautiful male cheetah. I hope James has some luck down there too. But while he does that, stick with me a little bit, just a little bit longer. It's always interesting to see. You never know. We could get out, have a look around and bump into some lions. So Sandra has asked, have I ever had a dangerous close encounter? Sandra, I wouldn't say a dangerous close encounter. I have had some encounters that I've had to be a little bit more careful with, and that comes from tracking and looking for animals. When you are tracking, you're obviously very careful, but I have many times walked into lion prides, walked into leopard, And usually they give a bit of a growl, and they well, as soon as I hear that, I tend to back off. I see there's some other guys, a tracker and a ranger in this area too, walking looking for these lions. So we're in the right area, and maybe they can give us a hand. So Sandra, as I was saying, you've got to be so careful when you are tracking, because you often bump into these animals you're looking for, but often they'll give you a warning, a growl. If you're unlucky and you really threaten them, they may charge you. I haven't been charged yet, but I've been growled at quite a few times. So, but I guess that's part of the job. Just want to reverse a little bit here quickly. So while those guys are checking in the same drainage line that we were in earlier, we just went further down and they've gone to have a look up a little bit higher. So let's drive around, and often while you're tracking, it helps to try and check different areas. If there are a few people working one area and looking for tracks or following tracks, you can drive around, take the next road around and see if those tracks don't come out somewhere. It will cut down the time you spend tracking. You really have to work as a team out here. Carefully around here. Another incident, actually, Sandra, now that I think about it, another incident I did have many years ago. We were in a camp, and an elephant had broken through. And an elephant in camp is not a bad thing, but it's not ideal, especially during the day. Excuse me. Especially during the day. If you have guests walking around. Excuse me, everyone, sorry. I think a fly flew into my throat. So on this particular occasion, this elephant came in and we had to try and get him out. Now, it's not easy chasing an elephant out of a camp. Usually if you make a lot of noise, they don't like it and they tend to move off. On this particular occasion, the elephant was moving through the camp and had seen a few people already, so he was a bit agitated. So myself and another guide headed off in the direction of the elephant and thought we'd be able to chase him out. We got within about 100 meters of him, and we've watched him closely and thought, well, he's heading to the exit. If he gets closer, we'll make a noise and he will leave. Before that happened, though, he caught a glimpse of us in his eye, and he just turned and charged. He had had enough of people, and he decided to charge. My friend who I was with ended up just running immediately. Now, the general rule in the bush is whatever you do, don't run. You're meant to stand your ground, try and make a noise so that the animal feels a little bit threatened, and usually they stop a charge. This elephant didn't stop though, and I was shouting and clapping my hands, trying to stop it. It didn't stop, and I thought, well, now I better start running. He had closed the gap quite a bit between us, and I turned to run, and as I turned, I was on uneven ground and my foot slipped and I fell. I landed on my back, and this elephant bull stopped about 5 meters from me. This really big elephant bull stopped and flapped his ears, and I was lying there looking up at him, and it happened so quickly. I don't think I even had time for my life to flash before my eyes. It was just like, wow, what's going on? And there was dust and a little bit of a trumpet. And he turned around, and as he turned and walked away, I got up quickly and I ran back to the nearest little house. And as I said, we were in the camp, so we weren't with guests. It was just myself and this other guide, luckily. And this elephant turned, and as he walked off, I got up and ran straight back to the house. But he definitely could have done some serious damage to me if he wanted to. But again, it just shows I don't think they are out there to harm us. It's only if we feel if we threaten them, when they feel threatened, they will act aggressively and try and get you away. While I'm continuing my search for these lions, I think James has got onto cheetah pools. Go across and join him for a little while, and we'll see you shortly.
Byron is confused because Cheetah Pools is a road at Londolozi. I'm currently on Cheetah Plains, and I'm looking for a woodpecker that has now flown away. Beastly bird. Anyway, very nice bird. Woodpecker. It looked like a bearded woodpecker that we were trying to get a shot of. Anyway, we'll have to find something else. So here we are on Cheetah Plains. There's nobody else here as far as I can work out. Mike has gone off towards Torchwood. He's one of the guides here, and Andrew has as well, I think. So we're just going to knock about here on our own and enjoy ourselves. We'll put on the Eastern Channel in case something interesting pops up, and drive very slowly through the area, stretching the tops of the termite mounds for Nkanyeni and the cheetah perhaps stalking the plains as they did yesterday. It is a very common, of course, guide and very human thing to go into the same area more than 3 or 4 times, hoping to see the sighting that you had yesterday. This almost never turns out the way you think it's going to. So our first stop will be the water at 3 in a row Pan. Hello, B. Ellie the backpacker. What a marvellous name you have. You say, can we go to the tree that has got the water hose hanging in it, and do I know what they do that for? I don't. I haven't found out. I'm not sure why I haven't found out, but we went past there the other day, and the elephants have actually mangled the tree to pieces. All there is a stick sticking out the ground with the cable ties on it, but we certainly can go past that. It's on our way. So we'll do that. The elephants took, obviously, great displeasure at this thing falling. I've got no idea why it was like that. I can try and find out for you. I might actually ask. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so we've had an answer from the final control. Oh, I'm sure she probably asked. Rebecca, did you ask them when you went yesterday? She did. Very clever. So what it is, it's the breather tube for the borehole. Now, a borehole in the United States is known as a well. So it's a well, basically, that feeds probably 3 in a row Pan here. And sometimes pressure is too great. I think it's probably if it's an especially long pipeline. And so what they do is they put a breathing hole in there, and that's what that was. Thank you, Becca, for figuring that one out for us. A great mystery of the world, up in line with, of course, the construction of the pyramids and the Easter Island statues, has now been solved. Thank you very much for that. She says it's sad that we now know the answer. The mystery is gone. No one will ever ask to see it again now. B. Ellie the backpacker. Is that an elephant or is it a tree? It's a tree. Every time I come past 3 in a row Pan, I see that thing and I think that there is some ivory sparkling in the sun, but actually it's a tree. Anyway, let's see if there's something having a drink down here. Quarantine the male leopard. 3.5 years old, likes to knock about here from time to time. Don't see his tracks on the road. Maybe he is lurking about on his favourite termite mound or in his favourite marula tree. Sarah? That's a really cool question. I don't know. You say, do I think that animals have a sense of humor? I don't know if they have a sense of humor. They've definitely got a sense of fun. And that really does vary with personality. Elephants, you know, little elephants or small lion cubs or leopard cubs, they've got a sense of fun around them. There is an elephant there. And I even think some of the bull elephants that we have our interactions with sometimes, I think they've got a sense of fun about them, or they've got a sense of no fun. So I think there's a variation depending on the individual animal you happen to be looking at. But a sense of humor, do I think they laugh? I'm not sure. I would say that the closer you get to human beings, the more something approaching a human sense of humor would be apparent. So if you looked at the monkeys and the baboons and that sort of thing, I suspect maybe you would find elements of a sense of humor, yes. There's 2 African hawk eagles over there, David. The other side of this effluent, this young bull effluent. Let's look at the elephant first. He's just having his evening snifter, his Sunday afternoon drink. Oh, everybody just take a deep breath in. And breathe out. And inhale the magnificent peace of a wilderness Sunday afternoon. Of course, the wilderness has no idea it's Sunday afternoon. It doesn't give a flying continental. But it does have a very Sunday afternoon feeling about it. Now, this elephant bull, roughly the same size as the elephant cow that I pointed out to you crossing the road earlier. So probably about 4 tons. Probably about 9.5 feet at the shoulder. And just very peacefully having a drink. So I think it's this pan that's being fed by the pipeline that has the breathing hole to which Rebecca was referring, and of course the mystery to which she solved and thereby ruined our fun. Thanks, Rebecca. Davey, let's just have a quick look at those hawk eagles. They look like they might fly.
I don't think those are.
They're in that tall marula tree, the big leafless tree there. There are 2 beds, and there we are. You got them. There are 2 African hawk eagles, everyone. Beautiful birds. That's it. And they're a pair, a monogamous pair. And let me just check something. I just want to check something on my bird app. So I'm so modern, I have a bird app. You see that, David? Mm-hmm. I'm very modern. Positively millennial. I was shouted at last night in camp, everybody, for being unmillennial by Connor. I obviously slapped him thoroughly. They're monogamous, yes, we know that. Nest and platform, yes, we know that too. Yes. Now, I'm amazed, okay, what we did today, of course, was we flew a drone. Well, we didn't. I mean, I'd say that as though anybody other than Connor had anything to do with it, but we gave him moral support. And the drone weighed 4.2 kilograms. Now, that bird is 63 centimeters tall, which means it's 2 feet tall. Its wingspan is roughly 1.5 meters. So, I mean, it's about a half the size, I suppose, of that drone that we have, but it only weighs 1.3 kilograms. That's tiny. So if you multiply that by 2.2, you get to go about 2.8. Sorry, excuse me, 3.8. 3.8 pounds. And that's an enormous bird to be weighing only 3.8 pounds. It's 2 and a bit feet tall, with a wingspan of about 5 feet. and yet it only weighs 3.5 pounds. And of course, if you're going to fly, you have to be light. So an astounding array of hollow bones with comb inside, with struts inside them, almost exactly like the struts and braces that you'd find in an aeroplane to reduce weight. All right, Davey, let's have another look at the effident. And HK, as we go away from the birds, sorry about that, but let's have a look at our elephant here. HK, you want to know if they eat smaller birds? Well, not elephants. Elephants definitely don't eat smaller birds, not as far as I'm aware. But yes, absolutely, African hawk eagles eat smaller birds, mainly ground birds or game birds like francolins and guinea fowl, but they will also take the odd mammal, like a squirrel, an unfortunate squirrel that might happen to be caught in a tree, a hare, or even a mongoose, I suppose, and possibly the odd fruit bat I'm reading now. I'd love to tell you I remembered that list entirely, but I didn't. I had to look it up quietly. I knew they ate francolins mainly. That's the bulk of their diet. And what they do is, it's a really impressive sort of hunting thing. What they do is, one will hunt high up and almost distract the birds. So if they see, say, a flock of guinea fowl walking across a clearing, one will launch up way into the air, and the guinea fowl will be alarm calling at the one circling them over the top, and then I think it's often the female will come in from low down, from low off a perch, unsighted, bah, she'll nail one of them, and that's basically how they hunt, and then they'll share the meal together. So it really is a team effort, and it's a brilliant strategy, because to catch a bird like these ground birds, they're actually a lot faster than they look, and they take off very quickly, and they can get into thick bush very quickly. And this bird is not designed like, say, a crowned eagle, which has a long tail for bracing and turning and twisting, or an African sparrowhawk, something like that. It's designed basically to nail something on the ground, and it's got this very clever strategy of distracting the animal that it's trying to catch. This fellow is very, very, very thirsty. Not really sure why. It hasn't been very hot, very pleasant day. They will apparently drink, you know, sort of, I'm told 100 litres a day. Now that trunk holds about 5 litres. So if you divide that up, you're looking at 20 trunks full every day. That's quite a lot. 100 litres in gallons. Oh, it's so difficult. I think they're 4.5 gallons or litres to a gallon. So I guess roughly 20 gallons of water a day. Okay, I think let's just sit here and wait for him to move off, see if he doesn't come this way to say hello to us, and then we'll press on and see if we can find something in the clearings. No, he's a very fabulous fellow. Look at him touching there. There's a carcass there of a wildebeest that was eaten by, I think, the Birmingham boys. They're the bones there now. He's touching them, he's smelling them. I don't want to move anywhere closer. Let's just see if he picks one up. Now we know that they do this with the bones of their own dead. But they will also, I suspect, especially in trying times like this, they're known to eat sand, and they'll go to a sort of sodic area like those clearings that we're going to go and visit now, and they'll eat sand for the minerals. And we know that many, look at him touching there, the wildebeest skull. Many, many animals, of course, will eat bones, or many, not animals, many herbivores will eat bones. Sorry, the radio is going crazy in my ear. Many herbivores will eat bones, especially during a drought, when it's, you know, there's not much else to eat, and they need the phosphorus especially. And I wondered if he would do the same. It doesn't seem to be. All right, let's go across to Byron, find out where those fat lions have gone. They did exactly the same thing to me yesterday. Let's see if he has a bit more success.
No success just yet, but we have got a general direction of tracks. They headed north from where they last were. So we are still driving around and having a look for these lionesses. They are being very elusive this afternoon, but so is everything else. We haven't seen too much else while we have been checking this area. I bumped into a vehicle full of guests though. Their ranger and tracker had left them. They went off tracking. They were very friendly. So Betsy has asked me a question, and she would like to know, how long did it take me to read or learn how to track animals and read their behavior? Well, Betsy, it's taken a while. It's not... sorry, I'm just having a look at these tracks here quickly. No fresh tracks. So Betsy, it takes a while. I think... You know, you can learn, within a year, you can learn how to identify tracks, but I think the art of understanding the tracks and reading them carefully while out in the bush is very different, because you need to learn how to gauge whether they are fresh or not. And fresh tracks, to be honest, I learned that a lot from my friend Judas, who is a tracker. He's been tracking for 40 years, very, very, he just has a keen sense for tracking and understanding wildlife. I learned a lot from him, and that took me about 2 years, I think, with him every day, learning and watching him and understanding the bush a little bit better. But before that, I understood animal behavior fairly well. I've been going to Kruger National Park and Botswana from the age of about 5. That was the first time I went. So I've seen and learned a little bit as I've gone every year. But it does take some time, and you know what, I'd like to think that I'm experienced, but I still definitely don't know everything. Animals do not read the books like we do. They don't follow strict behavior. They will do exactly what they want. So you're always surprised by animal behavior, which is so wonderful. It's exciting. You don't know what you're going to see. I see a squirrel, which is hiding. There's a beautiful leadwood tree. Look at that. Those of you who... There we go. Hello, little squirrel, trying to hide from us. There was another one that ran up, but he is hiding behind a branch. That little one, they were sunning themselves. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. See, you never know what you're going to see. And I know James was speaking to you earlier. Look at the tail flicking. That's the other squirrel hiding behind there. James was talking about his favorite trees, and this morning I mentioned that a leadwood was one of my favorites. And this is a leadwood. It's a dead leadwood, but it's quite an old one. And as I mentioned, this would stay standing for a very long period of time. They're very, very hard, dense wood, and they just have a wonderful shape to them. I love getting these with the sunset or sunrise, the silhouette of a leadwood. Makes a beautiful photograph. But even in this afternoon light now, really is stunning. Oh, nice to see two little squirrels, two little tree squirrels that are, and I'm guessing their home is probably in the top there somewhere. That's where they have a little nest. As I'm driving, I'm still having a good look at the tracks on the road, trying to see if I can get any clear sign of these lionesses. I do think, however, that they've moved into this drainage line, which is off to our right through the thicket. I don't think you'd be able to see it very clearly now. but I think they've moved down in there somewhere and they're resting until a little bit later. They'll probably get more active and move around, possibly try and hunt later this evening. So I'm heading down into this drainage line and going to search very carefully down here. James has taken up tree climbing.
Well, everybody, especially those that wanted to see this special tree, here it is, the tree in which the breathing pipe used to be. It was attached to the tree by this cable tie over here, but you can see the elephants have made it, well, more a twig than a tree, and I am now perched in the height of its boughs, just investigating what it would be like, of course, to be a bird sitting up here, and also to feel like one of the pipes that was attached to this tree. That is a ridiculous notion, and I'm now going to attempt to climb out. It is not the most sturdy tree I've ever been in my... Whoa! Yes, I mean, look, there's a very powerful pain coursing through my side here, but because we're live on screen, I won't scream and shout and declare how incredibly painful my body is right now, or the unspeakable sense of shock that I feel at almost killing myself on live television. Right. Shall we move on? Great. There we go. I'm not quite as light as I thought I was. Thank you very much. Yes, there is a fairly substantial piece of tree underneath my third rib. Anyway, we'll remove it later. Everybody, we won't do that while we're live. Whew. My composure. At least my hat didn't fall off, David. Imagine my hat had fallen off, and people would have seen my bald head. That would have been the worst thing to happen. Sorry about that, everybody. I knew it was going to happen eventually. I've so far managed to not fall out of any of the trees that I've climbed, well, on this particular show, and that was the first. At least I didn't come all the way down, right? Yeah. You want to see my owie, David? Look at my owie. It's very sore. You see? Yes, look. Show everybody my owie. You can't even see it there. You're not even with a super zoom. Oh well. Hello, Tony. You say, will that tree live and recover? No, it won't, because as soon as we go off air, I'm going to go back to it with a matchet and chop it to death. No, it will, Tony. Just about all the trees out here have evolved to cope with being torn to pieces by elephants, and that of course is. Let's quickly go across to Byron. He's got a bird.
They're still off to the left. There's one. We've just seen some white-crested helmet shrikes. Beautiful little birds. There's one. Can you see that? Look at that. Beautiful white-crested helmet shrikes. There's still one up in that tree, Brian, where you were. Oh, sorry, up there. There we go. Oh, there they go. They're making you work for it this afternoon. Oh, there are they now. Oh, another one flew off. Difficult to spot them. There we go. White-crested helmet shrike. Well done, Brian. And then off they go. That's a beautiful, beautiful little bird. And why I like them so much is they're always in big groups. So you see a family or a group together. The interesting thing with those white-crested helmet shrikes is that only the alpha male and female in that party will mate and have chicks, and then the rest follow the pair. So very similar to wild dogs. Wild dogs, only the alpha male and female mate and have pups. Same thing happens with these birds, which is very, very interesting. We are still in search of the lions. No sign just yet, but I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. And I understand James fell out of the tree. That has just made my day. I will ask him about it later, see what he was doing in the tree in the first place. And while I continue my search, James has a big bird for you to see.
Not only a big bird, everybody, the very biggest bird. There is a little flock of ostriches, which I believe is also called a wobble. A wobble of ostriches. Of course, one should often say a wobble because it does feel nice on the lips. Wobble, wobble of ostriches. 3 females, they're the brown ones, and the male, the resplendent in his tuxedo black. They are astonishing creatures. It really is amazing to spend a bit of time with them, and I don't want to go too close because I think they will run from us. So we'll just give them a little bit of time to get used to us. And they're just feeding on little forbs. Remember I described what forbs were earlier on. As they go across the clearing here, they eat nice, they like to eat, they will eat insects as well, but they prefer to eat new growth from herby plants. Just amazing. Hey? It's just astonishing. There's some wildebeest in the background. And I wonder if they're not going to come and have a drink. They may have already had their drink. Please just tell Byron the next time you see him that I didn't fall out of the tree. I fell sort of in the tree, and it's not the same. It's not the same at all. There are the wildebeest. Marvellous. It's so peaceful out here in the clearings. And there are also some zebra off to the right-hand side, which we'll just have a look at there. You're on them, Dave. A little bit left. Left. Here we are. Oh, that's a wildebeest. Hang on. There are some zebra, I promise. I saw them. I think they've moved into the thick stuff. Never mind. All right, let's see. Oh, hang on. The one ostrich is now coming closer. Let's see what she does. She might come around for a drink. She's definitely watching us carefully, you can see. There's a zebra. Ha. And just listen. I'm going to be quiet for about 20 seconds. See if you can hear anything at all. Not a sausage. It's so quiet out here, just one or two. I think I heard one crowned lapwing some way off to the north. Otherwise, it's just a nice soft breeze coming out of the northwest. And this is the kind of place, if you're ever feeling stressed out and tense, as Connor was this morning before he thought he was going to crash his drone, this is the kind of atmosphere that will calm and suck every piece of tension out of your body. And it's this kind of atmosphere that draws people back to the wild. And you can get it, of course, in any wild place, but an African wild place with ostriches and zebra and wildebeest in the background, well, could it be more special? Isn't that lovely? She's not, David, I wouldn't describe her as beautiful, would you?
Not quite.
Now, apparently her brain, everyone, is the same size as her eye. It's not very large. Possibly not capable of advanced calculus, but if you're an ostrich, you don't need to be able to do advanced calculus. I just want to see if she comes closer and deigns to have a drink, because I think she was about to when we arrived here. That's such fun. Now, I know Byron is looking for lions, and thus far failing to find them. I'd love to sort of cast aspersions on that, but of course I did exactly the same yesterday, and I think mine was probably a little bit easier to find. But the link there, of course, is that these things, when they call, sound almost like lions. And let me play you the call of the ostrich. And I mean, not if you're sitting right next to them, they don't, but if you hear them in the distance, they can sound a little bit like lions. I'll play you the call now, while we see if Mrs. Ostrich wants to come and have a drink. Yeah. Woofy day, I think they are. She's definitely very suspicious of us. Okay, here's the call. Hear that? You see how you might mistake that for a lion in the distance? Sounds like Brent doing the lion. Isn't that cool? It just called. One of them just called. I just heard it going, ooh. Now, interesting question about how often they get killed by the big cats. Not very often, but they do get killed by big cats, and certainly lions will happily have a go at an ostrich. And that's, I'm sorry, the comms with the final control are not great at the moment. Masked Kim? That was your question. Anyway, I'm sorry I can't get it more accurately. But that's what happens. So they will get killed by lions, sometimes by leopards, maybe by cheetah, but that would be unusual. And a very nice question about whether or not they molt like regular birds. Yes, they do, but remember, their feathers don't have to be in anything like the same condition that the feathers of most flying birds do. And that's because they obviously don't have the risk of plummeting from the sky if they fail to do their feather maintenance. Now, that means that they do molt feathers. I suspect it's far more irregular than it is with something like, I don't know, a martial eagle, or those hawk eagles that we saw. Their feathers are also designed slightly differently in that they don't have the sort of oily sealant on them, and they don't have to stick together in quite the same way that other birds' feathers do. So I hope that answers your question, but that's basically how it is with these ostriches. And Roger from Florida, a very good question about whether or not these ostriches stay in the same place or whether they roam. Roger, they do roam. They don't go huge distances, but they do go from this kind of habitat to other kinds of habitat that is the same. So they don't like to be in areas where there aren't clearings. They like to be in open areas where they can A, find food to eat, and B, they can run if they have to. Remember, their main defense, of course, is to be able to run at quite a tremendous speed. And so what they do is they will live around here for maybe a day or two, and they'll go through the woodlands, find another open area like this, and just kind of move from open area to open area. So they absolutely do roam. But that's simply, I think, well, it's probably a function of predator pressure and also a function of what there is to eat. And Brian, in Toronto, you say, is there one male here and several females? Yes, Brian, that's exactly what there is. The male is the resplendent fellow in his black garb. He looks like he's just about to go to a very formal do. and the female, well, they don't have such pretty colours, or such sort of obviously pretty colours, and that's as it is with most birds, of course. She's the one that is very drab brown. Mike, you want to know if it's true or not that ostriches bury their heads in the sand. No, it's not true, Mike. I'm not sure where it comes from. If I'm not mistaken, the legend comes from when they go and they look for, no, that's the other legend, that they carry diamonds in their crops, which they don't. No, they definitely don't, and I've certainly read that they don't, and I've never seen them do it, but I don't remember exactly where that legend comes from. So if you do know where the legend of the ostrich burying its head in the sand comes from, please do let me know. Byron has got some zebras a little bit closer to him than our zebras. Let's go and take a look.
So ostriches don't bury their heads in the sand, but I almost did, because we've had no luck with these lions. Luckily, we bumped into these beautiful zebra. A wonderful light on them now, feeding on this grass. I was beginning to become a bit worried. Just shows you never know what you're going to bump into around here. Look at these patterns, just wonderful, wonderful animals to see. That beautiful mane on the back of the neck. Now, interesting with zebra, even though it's very dry at the moment, there is still a bit of grass around for them, but you can't really tell just by looking at zebra if they are too hungry or if they are lacking food. The reason for that is zebra build up a lot of gas in their body, so they always have that full, swollen look. Look at that belly. See how full it is? They build up a lot of gases within their body, so they always have that look. How you can tell, though, if the zebra is losing condition is that mane on the back. If that mane starts flapping over and falling down, that's a sign that the zebra are not healthy. These zebra, their mane is standing up nicely, and they are still very, very healthy. There they go. Oh, there's another one behind there. I'm just going to move a little bit closer for us. There we go. Just have a look here quickly. Usually you find a single male with a group of females, and I saw another zebra walk around. This is a male to the right that we're looking at now, and off to the left, the one that was close to us earlier, that is a female. Now, I'm sure some of you are asking, well, how do you tell the difference between a male and a female zebra? So, that female's walking away, but if we look back at the male again, under that tail, while he's swishing his tail around, you see there's actually a very, very thin black stripe from just under the tail right down through that rump. Now, that is a sign that it's a male, very, very thin stripe. The females have got a much thicker dark stripe which runs from that tail all the way down. There's also, you will then be able to see the female genitalia through that black stripe, but with the males it's a very thin stripe if you cannot see the obvious hanging out below those back legs. Oh, this is wonderful. The zebra are completely relaxed with us around them. You can see that shadow stripe between the black and white stripes very clearly. That's typical of the Burchell's zebra or the plains zebra, this species that we are looking at. We have got another species of zebra, two species of zebra in South Africa known as the Cape Mountain zebra, or the Hartman's mountain zebra is another species. Both of those species, the stripes are a lot thinner and a lot closer together, and you do not see that prominent brown or shadow stripe between the black and white stripes like you do on these zebra stripes that we have here in front of us. I'm very glad we managed to find something this afternoon. We were starting to get a little worried, but that's how the bush goes sometimes. But we've been having so much fun and laughing a lot, which is great. So Jenny has asked how you can tell if a zebra is not having enough food. So Jenny, as I explained, the mane on the back of the neck, you would be able to see if that mane has flopped over. It's a sign that they are not getting enough nutrients, they are not getting enough food. But with those manes standing up straight, it's a sign that they are in good condition and they are healthy, and the food that they are eating is substantial for them and they are healthy. So Tasha has asked how you would tell if a zebra is pregnant. So Tasha, with the females, you often will see the much larger belly. You can see the belly, it does expand quite a bit more, and you can, it looks very, very swollen. You can see that she is pregnant. So that would be a sign immediately that the female zebra is pregnant. We're going to check this area a little bit longer for any sign of lions. While we do that, why don't you go and have a look at James and the big bird he still has with him.
These chaps have got so confiding, everybody. We've managed to get much closer to them. You've almost got full-frame female ostrich there, and all four getting to the front of us, which is a real joy. David, I might take a picture of the male now. Yes. Here we go, the world's slowest photographer. Almost got focus, and he's turned around. Excellent, missed it. Next time. Let's move a little bit forward. They've been so confiding about us driving along next to them. Hello, Frikkie Potgieter. You are obviously a South African, unless you are a South African that has immigrated somewhere else, and you want to know what the natural predators of these ostriches are. In this area, probably only lions, leopards, and hyenas, maybe wild dogs. I think there are probably too few of them for the wild dogs to bother. They might also be taken, I suppose, potentially by cheetah. But in this area, it would be largely wild dogs and leopards and hyenas. This lady is very close to us now. Hello, Mrs. Ostrich. Very good to see you. You're looking very fine this afternoon. That's it. Don't go away. Stay there. Now look over here so that I may take a picture of you. Hello? Please don't ever do that. I'm sorry for doing it again, everyone. Very poor form on my part. Didn't get a picture. Can you believe it? Isn't that great? Just look at the detail on her legs walking there. Powerful, powerful legs. And the toes, two toes, and very vicious claws at the edge of those toes. And they're really effective defensive weapons that the ostrich has. And, I mean, certainly if they set upon a human being, apparently what you're supposed to do is lie down on the ground, and that way they can't kick you, because they kick forward, and those claws, they will, I mean, if they get you here, they can actually disembowel you. And so the trick is to lie down on the ground, and then they can't actually do anything. They can just sort of stamp on you a bit, which will be very sore, I've no doubt. But it is not potentially fatal. This is incredible. We are now, I mean, we're very close to them. Hello, Heady Bachelor. You say, is the difference in colour only a function of the difference in gender? Yes, absolutely. That's all it is. I think in much the same way that some, we're going towards the wildebeest now, in much the same way that many birds are different colours or sexually dimorphic, so it is the same with the ostrich. And as is the case with all, when that is the case, normally the male is poorly camouflaged, and he is poorly camouflaged in comparison with the females here. They're enormous, you know. I mean, they are, what, 10 feet tall? Not quite, 9 feet tall, maybe 8 feet. And look at them now with the wildebeest. If we look to the left, they're thinking about, they almost look like they're thinking about having a bit of conflict, and the wildebeest have stopped eating. They're thinking about what on earth is going on here. And sneak slowly forward. Lynn, you want to know how many muscles in their neck they have. Lynn, I couldn't possibly begin to tell you how many muscles an ostrich has in its neck, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. I couldn't, yeah, I've got absolutely no idea at all. Oh, one of them is getting cross. This is brilliant. Look at that, everyone. This is truly spectacular. We are so lucky to see a scene like this. Now they've decided they're going to walk away from us. The male is looking a little bit sort of up, disconcertedly away to the side. Not sure why. You heard him there going, that was the wildebeest. Oh, it's fantastic. What an amazing sighting. Cindy, you want to know how often they breed, how often they lay eggs. I'm pretty sure it's once a year, Cindy. I will check up for you, but I'm pretty sure it's once a year, if they can, and if conditions allow for it. I think let's spend a little bit more time with them, just because it's so rare to spend time with ostriches. I think this is amazing. And the wildebeest were not pleased. The ostriches came to say hello to them. They've walked all the way down here, the ostriches. They've turned around. They don't want to go through that thicket, I think is why. Now they're coming along the other fringe of the clearing to see if they can find something else to eat here. Let's just spend a little bit more time, and then we'll go down towards the other big clearings where the cheetah were found yesterday. I know they did look there earlier, and they haven't found anything there. And the light is just so beautiful now. Yeah, we'll just let them do one more pass by here. Tasha, you want to know how tall they are. I estimated about 8 or 9 feet, but I'll check exactly for you. Up to 2 meters. So, I mean, 2 meters times 3 1/4 takes us to up to 2 meters. No, they look like they're much taller than that, I must confess, but maybe they aren't. So 2 meters is actually only about just under 7 feet. So I'm getting reports from the final control that they get up to 2.4 meters. My bird guide, which is normally extremely reliable, says generally up to 2 meters. but I think that male is taller than that. So that say about 7 feet. So they're a good foot shorter than I thought they were. Still very impressive, of course. Very nice day, Dave. There's some beautiful light there shining off the cloacal emptying of that front female. And now the male. Wonderful. Beautiful. Now, the interesting thing about that, of course, is that they are birds, and therefore they only have one opening called a cloaca, which is a sort of a throwback to their reptilian past. And the cloaca contains both liquid and solid waste. And the white bit that comes out is the uric acid. It's the same thing that you find in normal or sort of a standard issue bird poop and reptile poop. And the rest, of course, is just dung, really. Fantastic stuff. A little bit further forward, maybe. Stay here. Cat in Tampa, a nice question about whether any of the landowners here hunt for ostrich and eat it. No, they don't, because you're not allowed to hunt in the Sabi Sands. Certainly not something as rare as an ostrich. But you've also heard that ostrich is good eating. It is good eating, and it is farmed as a as a sort of game meat. And you can get it readily in South Africa. It is good eating, and you say you've heard it's healthy. It is healthy to a certain extent, apparently totally cholesterol-free, but it's also completely fat-free. Well, much of it is completely fat-free. And so if that's what you like to eat, then it is good. It tastes, David, tastes pretty like steak, really. But it is, you can tell it's ostrich. If you know ostrich, you can tell. You might have one little move forward towards them, and then we'll press on to something else. Perhaps some cheetah. Oh, David, I've got them in the sun there. Obviously, they're not looking here. That is a horrendous photograph, yet again. David's got a very nice shot there, of course, of the ostriches. It's quite nice, I suppose. Hello, Kathy. You want to know where they sleep at night. Kathy, they'll probably find an open area a little bit like a giraffe will and lie down with their heads up, and one of them will almost certainly always be awake. That's how they'll do it. Otherwise, they will not find the safety they require. But they won't sleep in thick bush, I don't think. I'm pretty sure that they will avoid thick bush as much as they can. Thick bush, not the friend of the ostrich. Ah, Byron is in a tree. Let's go and have a look.
You're in a tree, let's have a look. So, James is not the only one that can climb a tree. Here I am, really, really high up, and I don't know how I'm going to get down. I'm a little afraid of heights, but let's see. I know James fell out. 1, 2, 3, and I'm out. There we go. So James is not the only one that can climb a tree. That's all I could find so far. That was the only tree I could find that I could climb. We've been having a look around this area for any lions. Still no sign of these lionesses. I was chatting to one of the trackers from the other lodges, and they said they saw the lion tracks, and I went and had a look with them. Looks like those lions may have been chased off by hyena. Don't know why. It doesn't look like there were any signs of a kill. But what often happens is maybe just the sight of the hyena may cause the lionesses to move off. They don't want to get into any altercation with hyenas for no reason. But I'm not giving up just yet. I'm still going to have a look for lions this afternoon. The temperature is dropping quite nicely. It's becoming nice and cool. So that's a good thing, because that means we might have a bit more activity from them moving around. Let's see what we can find. I'm really impressed that James managed to find you an ostrich. I haven't seen an ostrich in this area yet. And they're not very common around this part of the Greater Kruger. We do get them up further into Kruger National Park itself. I've seen quite a few ostriches there. There we go. Sunset. Well, the sun's just gone down. Well, just behind those trees now from where we are. There have been some tracks, and chatting to one of the other guys around in this area, and he was saying that they did hear lions, possibly male lions, calling this morning. And I heard them say they saw 1 or 2 tracks. So they are following up in another area. We're still just looking for any sign of these lionesses. Don't know where they've disappeared to. It's very, very interesting. But again, you can never be too sure. Don't know. I mean, they'll move wherever they want. They don't have to follow a strict regime. They'll move any time of the day. All depends. If they do get disturbed by something, it'll cause them to move off. I've seen lions in the middle of the day lazing about, and a herd of elephant come through and chase the lions off. I think James has definitely had a bit more luck than us this afternoon. There's another. So we've got a question coming through at the moment. So Michael from New York has asked us a question about lions and how you tell the ages of these lions, whether they, or with the difference between male and female, firstly, with the ages, and if you can see distinct characteristics in the faces about the ages. So what happens is, often it's very difficult to tell just by the body if the lion is old or young. And generally the body stays in a similar condition unless it's a really old lion. You'll see the spine start to show a little bit, and the body does deteriorate in condition. However, with the face, you'll often see the tips of the ears become very frayed, and the reason for that is they get a lot of flies and bugs that bite these animals around the ears. So that would be the first sign that the lion is old. Also, with the noses, you get often when the lions are younger, they have these beautiful shiny noses, and often there's a little bit of pink in the middle. The older they get, those noses get very, very dark. You also see that very clearly on leopards. You will see leopards where the nose starts getting very dark and a little bit chipped and cracked, and that's also a good sign of age. But generally, if you just had to look at a lion and you can see the ears, have a look at the tips of the ears. The older they get, you start seeing a lot of wear and tear around the back of the ears because of all the insects that bite their ears constantly. So we're going to continue checking around this area. As I said, I'm not giving up just yet. It's too soon to panic. James, I think, has got a wonderful view of the sunset with a few ostriches.
Look at that, everybody. They've come down to the water. They're thinking about having a drink. That was their reflection, of course, coming out of the little pan here called Cheetah Plains Pan. And I think it's been worth just sitting with these fellows. The male did have a little bit of a drink. There he goes. are. And just like the elephants, you know, they're not really prepared to drink the mucky stuff that the buffalo have been knocking about in. He's gone straight to where the pipe that feeds this little pan goes. Now, ostriches are not water dependent because they do live in some very desertified areas, and so I don't think they'll have to drink very much. GT Frog, you say elephants sometimes get on, that's a wonderful name. GT Frog, you say elephants sometimes get onto their knees to drink. Will they do this? Oh, emus get onto their knees to drink. Will ostriches do the same? I don't know. GT Frog, I would have said no because they can reach the ground so effectively, and so I don't think they have any need to get onto their knees. I would also suggest that emus living where they do probably don't have anything like the number of predators that ostriches do, and therefore the ostrich is unlikely to choose to get down onto its knees where it will be more vulnerable, even though it might actually be easier to sort of squat down onto its haunches. So I'm going to say no, they don't. GT Frog. An emu doesn't have anything like, well, I mean, I don't know if it has any natural predators really. Does anything eat an emu? Sure, something must. Otherwise they'd be everywhere. But not like here. And so, you know, anything like, for example, this giraffe that's decided to come up and have a drink, he's over there. He, of course, has got to be very, very careful about having a drink because he's got to open his legs up, splay them apart, put his head down, and when he's down like that, he is massively vulnerable to the attentions of lions and hyenas. I say he, but I do mean she in her particular case. Walking very slowly to the water. It's been a very Sunday afternoony here at this waterhole. We haven't done a huge amount of moving around, and everything's just kind of come this way, which has been rather splendid. Now I'm just going to put my jersey on because it's getting a bit cold, but David, of course, will suffer through the cold because he must bring you pictures, unfettered access to this beautiful giraffe cow. I think we're just going to sit here, if it's all the same to you, everyone, simply because she's coming to have a drink, and if we start moving around, I think she will be distracted and perhaps not come down. Just to give you an update, apparently those lions have been found, and Byron is waiting to sort of get into the sighting. So you should be seeing lions fairly soon. Here she comes. And look at the colours. Sorry, yes. David very cleverly pointed out that I left my busby inside my shirt, and therefore I became inaudible briefly. Hold on. Look at the colours there of her juxtaposed with the reds and oranges and golds and browns of the trees behind. I think that's stunning. In the background you can hear I've only just realised this, that's a Shelley's Franklin calling. Come on, old girl. That's it. No, don't stop. Keep going. She's thinking, oh, I don't know about this. There's just a bit too much activity around here. There are large, strange birds around that aren't here normally. There's a car parked. I'm on camera. Don't know if I want to drink anymore. Looking at the wildebeest behind. Oxpecker tickling away at her neck, considering all her options. And I'm being slightly facetious, of course, but this is what they do all the time. You've got to be very careful. She'll be checking every bush to see if there isn't a lion lying in wait to devour her when she spreads her front legs apart to bend over and have a drink. It's not that usual that we get to see this kind of thing, so I think it's worth just sitting for a little while longer. There's another one coming, there are another two coming. Oh, it's all happening here. Of course, Dave, every time I point at something in a different direction is to re-level the camera. That's why the horizon tilts slightly like you're on a boat every so often. She's moving painstakingly closer to the water. Come on, brave lady. There's the Shelley's Franklin calling. Yes, we are standing here. We have not moved. Oh, they're so gracefully making their way across the clearing. The other two, and this one now thinking, they always seem to get into this drinking mode where they duck their heads a bit, then lift them up again and stand and look ponderous about the place. Duck their head half a little bit, back up again. Trying to decide if it's actually worth having a drink or not. And they're not particularly water dependent, so they don't have to drink. But if they can, they will. Oh, look at that. 3 of them. There we are. A great journey of giraffe. There's another one in the background, Dave, way away there. Dark, dark one. There you are. Left a bit. That's it. They're all coming. There seems to be some kind of a Sunday evening giraffe conference here. That's a big bull. He's the second bull. Now they will probably be in communication. We can't hear it. There's the first bull. The others are cows. You'll probably be in communication with all of them. They they communicate with a very low rumbling infrasound, which we are unable to hear with our fairly unsophisticated ears. Look how the male is a lot less cautious than the females. A lot less considerate of the dangers that might be here. He's just thinking about getting to the pub with the girls. See that, David? Let that be a lesson to you. Ill-considered drinks at pubs with girls can lead to trouble. He doesn't think much of that advice at all. He's fantastic. Wonderful. And now they're all standing going, I wonder what we should do now. I don't know what she thinks she's doing, if there's some kind of communication going on here, if she's looking for lions or cheetahs, if she's, I've got no idea. Thinking maybe there's a crocodile in here, keeping an eye out for that. The oxpeckers are all going, that's sometimes an alarm call from them. They don't seem to be alarmed at all, though. Sorry about the aerial, everybody. We just have to have it up, otherwise we can't hear the final control talk to us. Yeah, he's definitely far less worried about what might be at the water. He's a young male. You can see he's shorter than she is. Hello, Alec. I think Alec or Alice in Ohio. You want to know about whether giraffes are waders. Do they ever go into the water? And it's Alice, not Alec. Alice, you... Sorry, Alice. I completely misheard your name. Communications from the final control, utterly horrendous this afternoon. So, Alice, you want to know if giraffe ever wade into the water? No. Giraffe are not waders. Again, they would be far too vulnerable. I mean, I imagine they've crossed rivers before and gone into water every so often, but they don't by default wade in the same way that elephants do. Thank you for your question, Alice. I shall now remember it. Your name, I mean. I will almost certainly forget your question, because that is the, you know, that's the price you pay for being the age I am. This is a wonderful picture, even if it is, ooh, frisky young male. No, we're not going to have a drink. We've decided against it. Let's go and ask the old boy. Now there's a wonderful shot. Look at that. So the big male there, that is second from the left, he is probably, I'd say about, say almost 20 years old. He's much darker than the others. He's lost the end of his tail. He's clearly much more experienced than the other male because his horns are bald on top almost. And he's got that median horn. He's got that very sort of heavy calcification of the skull. And the young male doesn't have that. You can hear the Senegal lapwing going. Now, Susan, you were very astutely asking what subspecies of giraffe we're looking at here. It's a subspecies called the southern giraffe. There are 9, according to some. Some say 11, some say 7 subspecies of giraffe. This particular one is called the southern giraffe. And while we wait and see if they actually come down and drink, or if they're just going to prevaricate all afternoon long. Prevaricate is a very good word, David.
Thank you, John.
You may use it. And not sure what it means either. There are all the pictures of the different subspecies of giraffe that you get here, or not here. So we get the southern giraffe, and the only one which is, I can't even tell which one it is. Hang on one sec, everyone. It is there, it's that one, right at the bottom. Angolensis, the southern giraffe. And look at all the other amazing variations that occur throughout Africa. There are about, well, like I say, many. Let me just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's got 12 here, but that will be disputed by some people. Marvellous. Now here they come to have a little bit of maybe a drink. I've been saying that many times, haven't I? But they keep prevaricating, David. Mitch, lovely question from you and well noticed. You say giraffe, rather like hyena, walk with one leg, or at least with both legs on each side. So that's completely different from a dog or from a horse or from an impala that will walk left front, right back, right front, left back. They walk left front, left back, right front, right back. You see what Mitch means from New York. Thank you, Mitch, for that. I mean, this is fantastic. Look at the picture of them there. So you want to know if they run like that. No, they don't. They run in a sort of canter. And a canter is that sort of 3-beat movement, exactly the same as a horse. And what it is if you're going to just listen carefully now, because it can get a little confusing. A 3-beat canter, everybody, basically constitutes back right leg, okay, starting the movement, then left back and left front, touching at least left back and right front touching the ground in diagonals, and then leading the last foot to land would be the left front foot. And that's basically what a canter is. And that's how they run. So it's not the sort of, it's not just a faster version of their walk, if you know what I mean. This is fantastic. Look at this. Hello, B. Ellie the Backpacker. Another nice question from you. Thank you for it. You say, did giraffe live alone? B. Ellie the Backpacker, giraffe do not live alone always. They can, though. Like you say, you've seen them living alone before with us, and they certainly can live alone, B. Ellie the Backpacker, but they don't always. They are sometimes in these groups, and they're often in these groups not permanently, so that's sort of a loose association that they have here. And the female's much more likely to be together than the males. This is an unbelievable sighting. And Deborah, Armchair Traveller, good question. You say, do I think that giraffe communicate with elephants with low frequency rumbling? No. Deborah, I'm almost certain that they don't. I'm almost certain that that low frequency rumbling is an entirely single specific noise that they make. So I don't think that they'll hear it if an elephant calls. They might hear it if an elephant calls. They won't know what it means though. So it's just a tone. It's not the actual. I hesitate to use the term words, but it isn't the actual words that they're hearing. It would just be the sound. This is just fantastic. I really do feel rather privileged to be witnessing this lot. And Tasha, you say, do they have a leader? No, absolutely not. They don't. I think giraffe dominance and the like is decided by size almost exclusively, and that's certainly the case with the males, and I don't imagine there's any kind of hierarchy amongst the females at all. Now this chap is thinking about having a drink. Look at this, isn't that wonderful with their reflections? I think that's stunning. Very nice, David. A giraffe are ideal for an imbecile photographer like myself because they move so very slowly. The colour around us is just incredible. It's like an orange glow has enveloped us, and these giraffe are, well, they're covered in the same sort of orange, aren't they? And you saw those pictures of the different giraffe. Now these chaps, if you saw these chaps together and you didn't know any better, you'd say, oh, well, they definitely belong to a different subspecies from each other because they're all different colours. And this is why it gets so difficult to decide how many subspecies there genuinely are. Wonderful stuff. No, Julianne, very astute question, which I possibly should have given you the answer to before you even asked it. You said, do the subspecies live together? No, Julianne, they don't live together. They live on their own, and they're separated by geography, and that's, in fact, probably why they've evolved to be slightly different subspecies. They would have all been the same at one stage. Very nicely thought out. So you can almost completely show what the subspecies is from where they occur. All right, let's go back across to our old pal Byron, find out if he's been enjoying his afternoon off, and maybe he's got some lions, but he'll tell you if and when you're going to see them.
So James, I still don't have any lions, but everybody, look at this beautiful sky. We are sitting listening to the bird calls at the moment. Remember earlier when it was still very warm, there was very little bird calls. And we've just had some arrow-marked babblers. I hope they call again, but they've just disappeared into a thicket and I don't hear them anymore. But let's listen out for them. But have a look at that beautiful pink and blue coloration in the sky. Now the Shangaan people in this area, this part of South Africa, refer to that color as mveve. And that is what they call the lilac-breasted roller. And it gets its name from this color, that beautiful pinkish color, that lilac color that it has on its chest. Very, very beautiful color in the sky. And that's where the lilac-breasted roller gets its name from in Shangaan. We'll have to ask James a little bit more about that. His Shangaan is much better than mine. If we listen carefully, we can just hear those arrow-marked babblers. Some starlings calling, and of course the babblers have stopped. So we haven't had too much luck. Hang on, there we go. Excuse me a second. Okay, A-firm, I'm not too far. If I can move in then as a third. Copy that. Thanks very much. No problem. All right, fantastic, everyone. We have got some good news. Luckily, they have just found 2 male lions. So remember I said we're going to hang around this area. I've just got a good feeling that something's gone on because it's unusual that those lionesses have moved off. I'm not too sure if these male lions have chased them, but someone else has found 2 male lions. They've just found them, so I'm just trying to wait for them to establish a sighting. And once they do, they'll let us know, and hopefully we get to see them before the end of drive. But that is fantastic. So I had a feeling there was something going on in this area because the tracks that we saw earlier definitely looked like these lionesses had been moved or pushed off. There was hyena tracks around, so something was going on. And I think possibly these 2 male lions had something to do with it. While I wait for an update from the guys who have found those lions, go back to James quickly for a short while, and then hopefully I'll have news with those lions.
The endless waiting game of seeing if a giraffe will drink continues here, everybody, at the Cheetah Plains Pan, and we've been let down again. There she goes. All right, I'm going to leave these giraffe, and therefore you are too. We pop gently down into the clearings very quickly. Oh, are we? Oh, here we go. You're not going to be able to reach the water from there. I'm pretty sure you're wasting your time. Yeah, Monique, I think you're absolutely correct. You say that perhaps the waterhole edge is too high and they're afraid, that they might slip. Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. And if they do slip, a giraffe will really struggle to get up. If this giraffe was to fall into this water, you'd be almost certain that it would die here. It happened fairly recently with our friends, the Matimba males. A giraffe died in a pan because he slipped into it and he just couldn't get up. And eventually those 2 lions leapt on him and they fed on him for many days. I also think she's being slightly distracted by us, and so let's just move off. And because if she really does want to drink, I don't want to stop her doing it. Bye-bye, good luck, don't fall in. Won't be nice. Good. What a wonderful time we've had at Cheetah Plains Pan. We're just going to nip into the clearings and then we'll turn for home. Not too much time left. We'll probably find a great plethora of lions there now. I'd say an almost perfect Sunday afternoon, wouldn't you, David? Yes. Byron has got the lions.
Well, welcome back, everyone. We've got the lions, James, you're right. I'm so excited and so happy. Finally, they're two young males. Let me just have a look. I'm just trying to... They're on the move at the moment. Just get around here quickly. You should see them shortly. There we go. See them moving through there. Hold on. Now the multitasking begins again, moving the vehicle and trying to keep up with lions moving through a thicket. But this is exciting. Two young males. Now, this is the first time I've seen them, so I'm not sure where they are from. Have a look. Hang on, I'll get you into a position now.
Long session without a pee or any.
Well, they're moving quite quickly. There we go, look at that, walking side by side. Fantastic. Look at that, our persistence paid off. It's not always easy to find animals in the bush, but every now and then you get lucky and they pop out. These males, I think, just started moving around as the temperature cooled down, and one of the other vehicles bumped into them along the road. They've crossed into this thicket. And let's keep going, let's keep going. I'm going to try and head back to the road quickly. I think it might be a bit easier for us to keep up with them from there. A little bit of bundu bashing, as we call it. Watch out, Brian, you're right there. All good. Just going to make our way around. And this is often the trick with fleeing animals, is if you know the area very well, you know where the roads are, then you should be able to keep up with them much easier. I'm guessing I know this area. I don't know this area very well, but I saw this road earlier and I did drive on it. So I'm hoping they do end up coming out towards the road. Let's see. Yep, look at that. Look at that, straight towards the road. Fantastic. There they come. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Give a little bit of extra light here. Look at that. These are beautiful young males. You see, they haven't quite developed manes yet. Just the start. So I'm guessing these lions are roughly around, I would say, somewhere around 3-4 years old, 3 to 4 years old. Often you get the mane start forming from then. And then from about 5 and 6, you really start seeing that mane filling out quite a bit. Until it becomes a full mane, like those adult males have, those beautiful thick manes. Just want to see something quickly. Which direction they're going? They're still just walking off to the side, just right of us. Hang on. There's another road here. Great. See if I can get them walking towards us. That would be wonderful. There's a nice pathway. Hang on. There we go. Oh, look at that. Still a little bit of light just creeping through. Looks like that one has got a floppy ear. Look at that. Look at his right ear. Look at that. There they go. Look at that. Fantastic. Wonderful. Sorry. Oh, and there they are. crossing the boundary now. So we won't be able to follow them any further from here. But what a treat. And we've been looking for lions all afternoon, and finally we got them, 2 young males. I'm not too sure where those females are, no sign of them this afternoon at all. But fantastic, we got our male lions. And I think these males were calling earlier this morning. It's a good possibility. And maybe those females returned a call, and that's why these males came into the area, possibly to look for those lionesses. They've just moved off into the thicket there. Don't think we're going to get another glimpse of them. It's very, very thick here now. Oh, hang on. Might see a spot here. They're still just moving off through there. There they go. Can you just see them disappearing, that black with the tail moving through the thicket? Oh, what a treat. So we have been working hard this afternoon. We haven't had too much luck, but it pays off in the end. And what a fantastic opportunity to see these male lions. And like I said, it's always exciting when you see lions or any animal that you haven't seen before. And I'm not sure where these young males come from, but it's interesting that they are in this area and that they were potentially looking for those females. Perhaps they are offspring that those females kicked out a few years ago. I'm not too sure of the pride dynamics in this area at the moment, but that could be the case. And now those 2 males will most likely form a coalition. They'll stay together and hopefully grow up together. And the reason for that is that as older males, it's easier for them to maintain a large territory. They protect each other, and they can then find females and mate with females from different prides, not just one pride. So they will constantly patrol the territory and keep out any other males or any other competition. What a wonderful sighting. So Velma has asked what property they've just crossed onto. So Velma, we are still on Arethusa, and they've just crossed north onto Simbambili. And off they go. There is a prominent waterhole in the direction that they are going on Simbambili, and I think they're possibly heading there to have a drink of water for the evening. And then potentially patrol more of the area. They're not old enough to be dominant males in this area yet, so I think they will still just patrol around and try and avoid the big dominant males until they get a little bit older, and then they'll start trying to set up territory for themselves. Excuse me a second, let me just give everyone an update on these lions. The station's just left those 2 male lions. They've crossed north onto Simbambili. Still a few birds calling, some more arrow-marked babblers, have some fork-tailed drongos. Temperature has dropped quite a bit now, but oh, some beautiful silhouettes behind us. Just want to see if I can stop for you quickly. Look at that light, and hang on a little bit more. Look at that. Look at the color in the sky at the moment. Really, really beautiful. And if you listen carefully, you can hear those babblers. So Roger from Florida has asked us a question regarding the birds of prey in this area. And Roger has asked if there is an eagle in this area which compares to the golden eagle in the United States. So Roger, I think an eagle here that would possibly look close to a golden eagle, I'm assuming might be a tawny eagle. A very, very large eagle, beautiful brownish golden coloration. But it's interesting, with the tawny eagle, you do get variations of color, but they generally are brown, but from a very light brown off to a darker brown. So I'm guessing in terms of coloration, probably the tawny eagle would be the closest to the golden eagle. Let us continue, and let me get the spotlight out. The multitasking begins. Let's see what we can find with our spotlights for this evening. James had some luck with bush bays the other night, and I know you at home love to see bush babies too. So we'll keep an eye out and see what we can get. And a few days ago we had a male leopard, Mvula. Mvula was just off this road, not far up ahead, which was very interesting. And the first time I saw him, it was wonderful to see him around here. But he has definitely moved off out of this area now. Trying to spot any reflection from eyes of any animals that we might be looking for. If you're lucky, we might get a civet, or, as I said earlier, a bush baby. I'd love to see a bush baby. The temperature has definitely dropped quite a bit. The jackets are back on, and I think it's going to be a very cold evening again. And tomorrow is most likely going to be as cold as it was this morning. It definitely sounds like James had a more successful afternoon in terms of the amount of wildlife he found, but that's how it works sometimes. You can't always see everything all the time, and it just shows you again how wild this area is, and it's live. What we're seeing, you're seeing. So that is the wonderful thing about Safari Live, that you can enjoy it with us and have fun with us while we're out here. There's some impala off to the right. I'm not going to shine in their eyes. Their eyes are very sensitive to the bright light. Sandra has asked us an interesting question. Sandra would like to know if we see a change in temperament with any of the animals when the food and water becomes more scarce in the drought. Sandra, I wouldn't say a temperament as such with most animals. I don't think there is a change. I have seen and noticed a change in temperament with elephant. They tend to become quite stressed out if there's no food, if there's no water. Those animals will become a bit temperamental and very stressed. With the other animals, I think they go through the motions. They still do what they have to do to find food and water. Often what happens if they've got a huge lack of food and water, you will find they start losing condition quite quickly. They lose the energy levels that they used to have. I don't think they become more temperamental though. A lot of buffalo dung around here. It looks like a big herd moved through. More impala off to the right. A few bats flying around. Still scanning for any bush babies. You never know, we could also still bump into a leopard walking around this time of the evening, marking a territory, a male or a female. Let's see. Now usually I'm able to spot scorpions in trees, but that's usually in summer. When there are more insects around, you get the scorpions sitting around some trees. Hang on. Oh, is that one? If it is, I will be very impressed. No. No, no sign. Not a lot of scorpion activity this time of the year. As I mentioned, there's not a lot of insects because it being the dry season, far less insects, far less bugs. So you don't have a lot of scorpion activity. But there is a species of scorpion which loves to sit in the bark of trees. So Janet has asked us a question about snakes in the area. Janet would like to know how many dangerous, poisonous, or rather venomous snakes are found in this area, and nocturnal snakes, that is. So Janet, probably the most venomous that we find here, or nocturnal venomous snake that we find here, is the boomslang, or also known as the tree snake. Now, you've heard me say poisonous or venomous. Now, hang on a second, I can just hear something. Can you hear that whistle? Could you hear that? It's coming from over there. So that is the sound that a pearl-spotted owl makes. Very, very small little owl. It's got a very high-pitched whistle, and it will call like that. It's often a territorial call. That, however, is not a pearl-spotted owl. That is a little fork-tailed drongo, which is mimicking a pearl-spotted owl, and it's very, very clever. They do that because the pearl-spotted owl, which is about the size of my hand, very small bird, and it is still a bird of prey. So often the fork-tailed drongo will mimic the pearl-spotted owl and try and chase away any other birds in the area. Very clever, but he couldn't fool me, not tonight. So as I was saying, Janet, with the snakes in the area, the boomslang or the tree snake is a very common venomous snake that we find, a nocturnal snake in this area, but there are very little snakes around at the moment because it is winter. You can just hear something up ahead. No. So, Janet, the difference between venom and poison, and why I brought it up is it's very important, and often people make a mistake. The difference between venomous and poisonous is that poison is ingested. So that is any poison that you drink or eat, that is poison, it's ingested. Venom is injected. So it will be injected into the bloodstream. So snakes, scorpions, spiders all have venom because they need to bite you or sting you to inject the venom. And if you had to drink a poison or eat a plant, for example, that is poisonous, that is poison because you are ingesting it. So that is the difference between poison and venom. So the snakes that we have out here are venomous. Not giving up on bush babies yet. I'm trying to look into these trees, see if we can't find an owl perhaps. Yeah, we've been lucky the last few days. We've seen 3 or 4 giant or Verreaux's eagle owl. They are really, really beautiful. Big, large owls with these beautiful pink eyelids. But they generally prefer the larger trees that they can roost in, where there's good cover. But don't worry, I'm sure we're going to find something shortly. Keep an eye out for any little flicker of an eye, any glint. So James Richard has asked an interesting question about the nightjars. Now, the nightjars are nocturnal birds which we get in this area. There are many different species of nightjars. In this area, James Richard has asked, do they have different adaptations to prevent them from competing against each other for food? And how do they differ? So James Richard, most of the nightjar species don't. They are all very similar. They sit on the ground in the evenings especially on the roads, because that attracts a lot of the insects. The roads are a little bit warmer. They've kept a lot of the heat from the day, so a lot of insects will come and sit on the roads in the evenings, and those nightjars will come down and feed on those insects. So the nightjar species will all feed on insects, all of them. So there is no difference between each species, and there is a bit of competition, but I think there are enough insects around that it doesn't affect the birds. No owls around there yet. James, I think the other evening, was doing one of these. I'm not sure that's going to work very well, because you will definitely miss an eye of something. Thought I caught a glimpse of something. Hang on a second, let me just double check. No. Nothing in the trees. Beautiful still evening, not a breath of wind. But you can feel that chill in the air while we're driving. So Velma has asked about another animal we often do spot in the evenings and in the trees, a chameleon. Velma would like to know if the chameleons are out this time of year. Velma, no, they are not. Not usually. You might still find one or two around. Hang on. No, don't worry. It's just a little steenbok. I don't want to shine on him and disturb him. He's lying in the thicket over there. So Velma, the chameleons are not active at this time of year because it is very, very dry and it is quite cold. They do need the warmth and they do need water and moisture, so we don't often see a lot of chameleons this time of year, but you never know, you could still spot one or two on a branch, but it's quite unlikely. Come on, bush babies. I know the other night Brent saw a civet, which is really, really great. We're in that area now where he did see the civet, so maybe we also get lucky and see one. Some of them can be quite territorial. They do stick in certain areas, and they patrol around a lot in the evening looking for food. Nothing up here. Surely we're going to bump into something shortly. We always stay positive, don't we, Brian?
We do. Have to out there.
Have to out here. But it's been such a fun afternoon, learning a bit of Arethusa, well, for myself at least, and even though a bit of tracking that we did, it was exciting, trying to work out where did those lionesses go, and we still don't know. No one found them, and we certainly didn't have any luck. That's the way it happens. It's amazing how animals can disappear if they want to. Just shows you how lucky you were to have seen them this morning with James. So Anne is a new viewer from Washington. Welcome, Anne. Great to have you with us on Safari Live. I hope you've enjoyed it. And Anne has asked, do lions fight each other and why? Yes, and they do. They definitely do. Lions fight constantly for a number of reasons. And one of the main reasons is territory. The lions will fight each other to protect their territory. They don't want other lions coming into that area because what that is potential competition. It can take away their food, the water source, and if another pride of lions come and patrol or control that area or that territory, could be detrimental to the pride which is there. So that would be one reason. Male lions especially fight for territory. Successful male lions is having a big territory, mating with females and having offspring. If they don't, they are not successful. So they will protect their territory as best they possibly can. And lions also fight amongst themselves within the same pride. The reason for that is if they're feeding on anything, if they have a kill and they're feeding, they get very aggressive with each other. It's survival of the fittest out here, and so what will happen is the lions, while they're feeding, if someone's got a good piece of meat or juicy piece of meat and the others are struggling to get some, they will often break out in a fight and they hit each other with their paws. If you look closely, next time we see some lions, have a look around their faces. They definitely have got a lot of scars and cuts, and all of that is due to fighting with each other for food. A little bushbuck also don't want to shine on him. Most of these antelopes, and some of you may be asking, why don't I shine on the antelope at night? The reason is they've got very sensitive eyes. Not like the nocturnal animals, which have eyes which have adapted to light and the darkness. But all animals, we try to be very sensitive with shining bright lights on them. But with antelope, their eyesight takes a long time to adjust to the, oh, here we go, oh, some buffalo. Look at that. 1, 3. Moved out onto the clearing, obviously, for this evening to feed and rest. I see some impala eyes around here too. So as I was saying, one of these, as I was saying, a lot of these animals, their eyes are very sensitive to bright light, so we try to be careful and not shine directly on them, but we will try and give the buffalo especially a little bit of peace and quiet so we don't disturb them too much, and we don't shine bright lights on any of the antelope either. I hope you've enjoyed this afternoon with us. It's been a lot of fun. Even though we didn't see too much, we enjoyed it, and eventually we got to see some lions. Thank you to Brian and the Thumb, the Thumb Mermaid. It's been a wonderful afternoon. We will see you tomorrow morning live for our dawn drive or our sunrise drive. Thank you to the ladies in the FC. Why don't we cross over to James so he can say his goodbyes to you? Thank you, everyone.
Woo! Hello, everybody. We were just going down a steep piece of road there. It was extremely entertaining, as you could see. We have found nothing on the way back from Cheetah Plains except a few cars with people smiling on them. So obviously it's been a pleasant Sunday for all out here. I did see a couple of cars stretched out along this road here. This is the Gari Main Road, our southern boundary. And I'm wondering to myself if the lionesses and their cubs, I know they were seen. I don't know where they were seen. I'm sure they were probably very close to this road. So if we do bump into them on the way in the next few minutes, we won't view cubs with a light, I'm afraid. But if we see the lionesses on the hunt, well, we'll watch them for a while. That would be nice. There was nothing in the clearings at Cheetah Plains. We did look fervently for any kind of animal life. We did see those wildebeest that we saw had come out and they were lying down there for a snooze. And you asked earlier about the ostriches and whether they sleep lying down or where they sleep, I think they'll go in much the same place as those wildebeest. You could see how they were avoiding the thickets. They didn't want to go into the thickets, and they came right around the clearing, and then they headed off north into the clearings at Nkoro. So I think they'll probably spend the night there. One of them almost certainly standing guard over the rest. Something going across the road. It looked like a duiker. Right, we're back on Djuma. Nora from Munich, you want to know how David feels after eating all those leaves, and you also want to know how it is, or why it is, that I make my cameraman suffer with me while I eat the leaves. Well, Nora, let's ask David first of all. How does he feel? David, how do you feel?
All right.
He feels all right. I mean, he has vomited 3 times since we left that position, but we didn't do that live, so that's ideal. Nora, the trick is that I don't actually eat them. I pretend to in front of you, and then I'm able to check the physiological response of the toxins that I feed to the cameraman. I'm able to assess their effectiveness over the course of the drive. So that is why they too must share what I eat.
Yeah, I thought it was because we were a team.
Exactly. And there you were thinking it was because we're a team. Hello, Julia Smith. You want to know there'll be a wrap-up today on Facebook? No, there won't, Julia. Not on a Sunday, surely. Julia, we do the wrap-ups now on Tuesdays and Fridays. Tuesday and Friday, we do wrap-ups. And otherwise, we go home and breathe, have a little drink, and generally relax, especially on a Sunday night. What a very special afternoon we have had. And it's just so telling to me, you know, so often people say, I've said this countless times, everybody who comes out here and says we want to see the big 5. Well, we had a very nice elephant sighting, sure, but we had an incredible giraffe and ostrich sighting. They will never be found in any kind of big 5 textbook. And I think it's just great that we had such a good afternoon looking at that stuff. Thanks for watching us, everybody. We're going to be going home now to warm up by the fire. Thank you, David, for your efforts today. Big thanks to Rebecca and Chelsea in the final control, and of course to Byron and Brian. We'll see you tomorrow at 6:30.